The giant view screen showed nothing but stars. Captain Tae-ho Kim stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the empty space. His blue uniform was perfectly clean. Not a single wrinkle could be seen on it. The bridge of the Imperial flagship, Eternal Glory, was quiet. Only the soft beeps of machines filled the air. "Captain, we have a problem," said Officer Han suddenly. His voice shook a little. Tae-ho turned around slowly. "What is it?" "Our sensors have found something strange in Sector 7. It's a ship." "Just a ship? Why are you scared of just a ship?" asked Tae-ho. His crew knew better than to bother him with small things. Officer Han looked down at his screen. His face had turned pale. "Sir, it's a human ship." The bridge went completely silent. Even the machines seemed to quiet down. Tae-ho felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. As the youngest fleet commander in the Empire's history, he could not show fear. "That's not possible," he said firmly. "Check again." First Officer June Park moved to Han's station. She looked at the screen for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were wide. "Sir, it's definitely human," she said. Her voice had a small shake in it. "The ship design matches nothing in our records, but the energy signature, it's human." Tae-ho walked to the screen. He looked at the data himself. The ship was unlike anything he had seen before. It was black and sleek, with strange blue lights along its sides. The readings showed weapons more powerful than should be possible for humans. "This can't be," he whispered. "The barrier is supposed to keep them contained." For 500 years, the Galactic Empire had kept humans trapped in their solar system. They had built the Orion Barrier, a wall of energy that no human ship could pass. Humans were too dangerous to let into the wider galaxy. Every child in the Empire learned this in school. Yet here was proof that humans had not only broken through the barrier, but had come deep into Imperial space. Sector 7 was just 2 jumps away from the Imperial capital itself. "Alert Imperial Command," ordered Tae-ho. His mind was racing. "And send a scout ship to watch from far away. No one is to get close to that ship. No one is to talk to them." As his crew rushed to follow orders, Tae-ho walked to the window. He looked out at the stars and thought about what this could mean. The Empire had told its people that humans were violent and unpredictable. But what the Empire didn't tell was how advanced humans had become before the barrier went up. 500 years ago, the Empire had met humans for the first time. That meeting had ended badly. Very badly. The details were secret, known only to high-ranking officers like Tae-ho. The truth was that humans had nearly defeated an Imperial fleet 10 times their size. They had shown fighting skills and quick thinking that shocked the Empire's best commanders. The Empire had not contained humans because they were primitive. They had contained them because they were terrified of what humans might become. "Captain, the scout ship is ready," said June. Tae-ho nodded. "Send them out. Tell them to stay hidden. We need to know what that ship is doing here." On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Commander Sun-Hai Lee smiled as she watched the Imperial ships panic. Her black uniform had silver stars on the collar. Her hair was tied back tightly. "They've spotted us," said her first officer, Jin-woo. "A scout ship is coming our way." "Good," said Sun-Hai. "Let them look. Let them worry." Jin-woo looked nervous. "Commander, are you sure about this plan? We're deep in their space. We're just one ship." Sun-Hai turned to look at her crew. 20 men and women sat at their stations. All of them were the best Earth had to offer. All of them knew the mission might be one way. "We're not just one ship," she said firmly. "We're the first ship. There's a difference." For centuries, humanity had been trapped behind the Orion Barrier. The Empire thought they had contained humans safely on Earth. What they didn't know was that humans had been working on breaking through for all that time. Generation after generation had worked on the problem. 50 years ago, they had succeeded. The first small probe had slipped through a weak spot in the barrier. 10 years later, the first human spy ship had followed. For decades, humans had been secretly moving through Imperial space, learning, watching, and planning. The Defiant was not a mistake. It was not a lucky breakthrough. It was the first move in a very long game. "They're sending messages to their capital," reported Officer Min. "Lots of messages." "Let them," said Sun Hai. Panic spreads faster than ships can travel. She looked at the main screen where a map showed the Imperial fleet positions. Hundreds of dots representing Imperial ships were starting to move. The Empire was waking up to the human threat. "How long until they surround us?" asked Jinwoo. "About 6 hours," said Sun Hai. "More than enough time." She pressed a button on her chair. "This is Commander Lee to all crew. Phase 1 is now complete. Begin Phase 2. Throughout the ship, hidden compartments opened. Special equipment was brought out. The Defiant had not come to fight. It had come to broadcast. Back on the Eternal Glory, Taeho received the first images from the scout ship. The human vessel was not moving. It just sat there in space, as if waiting for something. "Sir, we're getting strange signals from the human ship," said Officer Han. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "What are they saying?" asked Taeho. "It's not words, sir. It's data packets. They're sending out information." Taeho felt cold, fear run down his back. "Block those signals, now!" But it was too late. The signals were already spreading to every corner of the Empire. Within minutes, reports started coming in from other ships, from planets, from space stations. The human ship was sending out proof of something terrible. Taeho looked at the first pieces of data that his ship had caught. They were old Imperial records, things that had been deleted from official history. They showed what had really happened when the Empire first met humans. They showed who had really started the war. "Sir," said June, her voice almost a whisper. "Imperial Command is calling. The Grand Admiral wants to speak with you." Taeho nodded, but he barely heard her. His eyes were fixed on the screen, reading the truth that the Empire had hidden for 500 years. The humans hadn't come to start a war. They had come to finish one. In her private quarters, Sun Hai looked at an old photograph. It showed a woman in an old-style uniform, standing proud before an early spaceship. Her great-grandmother had been there when the barrier went up. She had sworn that humans would one day break free. "It's done, grandmother," whispered Sun Hai. "The truth is out. They can't hide anymore." A knock came at her door. Jinwoo entered, his face serious. "Commander, Imperial ships are moving to surround us, at least 20 battle cruisers." Sun Hai put the photograph away. "And our other ships?" "In position and waiting for your order." She nodded and stood up. "Then it's time for Phase 3. The Empire thought one human ship was a problem." She smiled. "Let's show them what 100 human ships looks like." As Sun Hai walked back to the bridge, the Defiant continued to broadcast its message to the stars. The lies of the Empire were falling apart, and humanity was finally ready to take its place in the galaxy. The real war was just beginning. The Imperial diplomatic vessel Voice of Reason moved slowly toward the human warship. It was much smaller than the battle cruisers with no weapons. Its white hull shone in the light of the nearby sun. Ambassador Hyun-Ki stood on its bridge watching the UES Defiant grow larger on the screen. "Are you sure about this, sir?" asked the ship's captain. "The Grand Admiral ordered no contact with the humans." "I'm sure," said Hyun-Ki. "Someone has to try to talk to them." After his conversation with Commander Sun Hai, Hyun-Ki had convinced the council to let him meet the humans face to face. The computer virus was still counting down. There were now less than 2 hours before it would release all of the Empire's secrets. 20 Imperial battlecruisers floated nearby, ready to attack if the diplomacy failed. Hyun-Ki knew they wouldn't help. If the humans wanted to fight, the Empire would lose. That much was clear now. "We're in range for shuttle transfer," said the captain. Hyun-Ki nodded. "Prepare my shuttle." On the Defiant, Sun Hai watched the small diplomatic vessel approach. "They're sending a shuttle," reported Jinwoo. "Just one person. The ambassador wants to come aboard." Sun Hai thought for a moment. This was not part of the plan. But plans could change. "Let him come," she decided. "Search him for weapons, then bring him to the meeting room." As Jinwoo left to greet their visitor, Sunhai looked at the countdown on her screen. 1 hour and 55 minutes until the virus would open every secret file in the Imperial database. The Empire had built its power on lies. Soon those lies would be exposed. The fleet is in position, reported Min. They're keeping the Imperial ships busy. Sunhai nodded. The human fleet wasn't actually attacking anyone. They were just moving around, making the Imperial ships chase them. It was a game of distraction, and it was working perfectly. "Commander," said Min suddenly, her voice tense. "I'm picking up strange energy readings from the Imperial capital." Sunhai moved to look at Min's screen. The readings showed a massive power buildup. "What are they doing?" she wondered aloud. Ambassador Hyun-Ki stepped onto the Defiant and looked around with curiosity. The ship was nothing like Imperial vessels. It was simpler, more practical. Every part seemed to have a purpose. There was no gold or fancy decoration like on Imperial ships. Jin Woo led him through narrow corridors to a small meeting room. "Commander," Sunhai was waiting there, standing by a table with a star map displayed on it. "Ambassador," she said with a small nod. "Welcome aboard the Defiant." "Commander," replied Hyun-Ki. "Thank you for seeing me." They sat down across from each other. For a moment neither spoke. They were the first official representatives of their species to meet in 500 years. "Your virus," said Hyun-Ki finally. "It will expose every Imperial secret to everyone in the galaxy." "Yes," said Sunhai simply. "You know that will cause chaos, maybe even civil war." Sunhai's face showed no emotion. "The Empire has ruled through lies and fear for too long. People deserve to know the truth." Hyun-Ki leaned forward. "But what about the people who will be hurt in that chaos? The ordinary citizens who have done nothing wrong?" For the first time, Sunhai hesitated. She looked down at her hands. "This is not revenge," she said quietly. "This is justice. Your empire attacked Earth. You tried to make us your slaves. When that failed, you locked us away like animals." "I know," said Hyun-Ki. "And I'm sorry. Many of us have tried to change things from within, but the Empire is stubborn." Sunhai looked up at him. "Then maybe it needs to be broken before it can be fixed." Hyun-Ki nodded slowly. "Perhaps. But there might be another way. A way that brings change without so much pain." On the Imperial capital, Grand Admiral Sungmin stood before a massive machine. It hummed with power, making the floor shake. Scientists in white coats worked at control panels all around it. "Is it ready?" she asked. Chief Scientist Yu nodded. "Yes, Admiral. The pulse cannon is ready." Sungmin looked at the weapon with grim satisfaction. The pulse cannon was the Empire's greatest secret. It had been built after the First Human War, designed to disable any technology within its range. It had never been used before. "Target the human fleet first," ordered Sungmin. Then the Defiant. "Admiral," said Yu hesitantly, "the cannon has never been tested at this range. There might be side effects." "I don't care," snapped Sungmin. "The humans have backed us into a corner. We have no choice." Yu nodded reluctantly and turned to the control panel. "Charging main capacitors. The pulse will fire in 30 minutes. Back on the Defiant, Sunhai's meeting with Hyun-Ki was interrupted by Jin Woo rushing into the room. "Commander, the Empire is powering up some kind of weapon. Our sensors show massive energy readings from the capital." Sunhai stood up quickly. "What kind of weapon?" "We don't know. Nothing in our records matches it." Hyun-Ki's face had gone pale. "The pulse cannon," he whispered. "They're going to use the pulse cannon." Sunhai turned to him. "What is that?" "A weapon designed after the first war with humans. It sends out a wave of energy that disables all technology. Ships, computers, everything. They built it in case humans ever returned." Sunhai's eyes widened. "Will it stop our virus?" "Yes," said Hyun-Ki. "But it will also affect Imperial ships and systems. They're desperate if they're using it." Sunhai rushed to the bridge with Hyun-Ki following close behind. The main screen showed the Imperial capital, now glowing with strange energy. How long until it fires? She asked. 25 minutes, replied Min after checking her readings. Sun Hai turned to Hyun-Ki. And our virus will release in... She checked the countdown. 1 hour and 20 minutes, too late. Hyun-Ki looked at her with serious eyes. You need to trigger the virus now before the pulse cannon fires. If we do that, we won't have time to get away, said Jin-Woo. We'll be right in the middle of the chaos when every secret is revealed, Sun Hai thought quickly. This was not how the plan was supposed to go. They were supposed to release the virus and then jump away to safety before the Empire could react. Now they would have to stay and face whatever came next. Do it, she ordered. Trigger the virus now. Min hesitated. Commander, are you sure? Yes. The Empire is willing to risk their own systems to stop us. We need to make sure the truth gets out before that happens. Min nodded and pressed several buttons on her control panel. On the main screen, a message flashed. Virus deployed. Throughout the galaxy, Imperial computer systems began to unlock. Secret files started to open. The truth about the Empire's 5,000 years of rule began to pour out for everyone to see. Sun Hai turned to Hyun-Ki. Now what? The ambassador's face was grim. Now we wait, and hope that the truth is enough to change things. On the screen, the Imperial capital continued to glow brighter as the pulse cannon charged. In just 20 minutes, it would fire, disabling all technology in its path. The Defiant would be dead in space, the human fleet would be helpless, but the truth would already be out there, and no weapon could take it back. Commander, said Jin-Woo suddenly, we're getting messages from planets all over the Empire. People are seeing the files. They're learning the truth. Sun Hai nodded. Good. That's what we came for. She looked at the glowing planet on the screen. The Empire had ruled for 5,000 years. It had contained humanity for 500. But time was running out for both of them. The countdown to the pulse cannon's firing continued, 15 minutes remaining. Send a message to our fleet, ordered Sun Hai. Tell them what's happening. They need to get as far away as possible. As Jin-Woo sent the message, Sun Hai turned to Hyun-Ki. Your empire is about to change forever. Are you ready for that? Hyun-Ki gave her a sad smile. I've been ready for a long time. The question is, are you? Grand Admiral Sung-min watched as the pulse cannon glowed brighter. The machine was now so hot that the air around it shimmered. 12 minutes until it would fire. Admiral, called a young officer, rushing into the room. We have a problem. Sung-min did not look away from the cannon. What is it? The human virus. It's been triggered early. Files are opening all across the Empire. Now Sung-min turned, her face showing real fear for the first time. What files? Everything. The true history of the first human war, the secret weapons programs, the suppression of other alien species, even your personal orders to... Enough, snapped Sung-min. She turned back to the cannon. How much longer? Chief Scientist Yu checked his panel. 10 minutes, Admiral. Sung-min nodded. 10 minutes. Then none of this will matter. The virus will be stopped. The human ships will be disabled. We can regain control. But even as she spoke, she could hear shouts and running feet in the hallway outside. Word was spreading fast. The Empire's lies were being exposed. Admiral, said the officer hesitantly. There are reports of riots on 12 planets. 3 Imperial governors have already been overthrown. The people are angry. Sung-min did not respond. She kept her eyes on the pulse cannon. It was her last hope. On the Defiant, Sun Hai and her crew watched the countdown. 10 minutes until the pulse cannon would fire. All the files have been released, reported Min. The virus worked perfectly. Sun Hai nodded, but her face was serious. What good will it do if the cannon disables our ship? We'll be helpless. Hyun-Ki, who had been quiet for some time, suddenly spoke up. There might be a way to stop the cannon. All eyes turned to him. The pulse cannon was built in secret, he explained. But I was part of the oversight committee. I know how it works. Jinwoo looked skeptical. Why would you help us? Stop it. It's your empire's best defense. Hyunki's eyes were sad. Because the empire I served was supposed to bring peace and order to the galaxy, not rule through lies and fear. What we've done to your people, it was wrong. Sunhai studied him for a moment, then nodded. What's your plan? The cannon draws power from the capital's main reactor, said Hyunki. If you can send a power surge through the system, it might overload. We'd need to get close to the planet for that, said Jinwoo. Those battle cruisers won't let us anywhere near it. Sunhai thought for a moment. Then she smiled. It was not a happy smile. We don't need to get close. We have friends who are already there. She pressed a button on her chair. This is Commander Lee to all human agents on the Imperial capital. Emergency Protocol 7, I repeat, Emergency Protocol 7. On the Imperial capital, hidden among the crowds of aliens, human agents received Sunhai's message. They had been living undercover for years, some for decades. They looked like any other Imperial citizens, thanks to advanced disguise technology. Agent Kang was working as a power plant technician. When he heard the message, he nodded to himself and walked calmly to a control panel. No one paid attention to him. He was just another worker. Agent Park was a security guard at the main government building. She made her way to the central computer room, her hand resting on her weapon. All across the capital, human agents moved into position. They had prepared for this day for years. Back on the Defiant, Sunhai watched the time count down. 8 minutes, until the cannon would fire. Our agents are in position, reported Jinwoo. They're ready on your command. Sunhai nodded. Tell them to wait for my signal. We need perfect timing. She turned to Hyunki. If we succeed, what happens to the Empire? The ambassador looked troubled. I don't know. The truth is out now. People will demand change. And if we fail? Hyunki's face was grim. Then the Empire strikes back harder than ever, and humanity might not get another chance. In the Imperial Defense Council chamber, chaos had taken over. Council members shouted at each other as reports of riots and rebellions came in from all over the galaxy. The humans planned this all along, shouted Counselor Jiwoo. They knew exactly how to break us apart. Minister Dae-jung looked at the data on his screen. Not just the humans. Look at these files. The Empire has been lying to everyone for thousands of years. We've suppressed other species, hidden technology, started wars for our own gain. That doesn't matter now, snapped Jiwoo. What matters is survival. The pulse cannon will fire in 6 minutes, then we can restore order. Dae-jung looked up, his eyes sad. What if we don't deserve to restore order? What if the Empire has been wrong all this time? Captain Taeho sat in his quarters on the Eternal Glory. He had been relieved of command after he questioned the orders to attack the human fleet. Now he watched on his private screen as the Empire's secrets were revealed. He saw proof that the Empire had attacked Earth first 500 years ago. He saw how humans had fought back with unexpected skill. He saw how the Empire had not built the Orion Barrier to protect the galaxy from humans, but to protect itself. Taeho had served the Empire his whole life. He had believed in its mission to bring peace and order to the galaxy. Now he saw that it had all been built on lies. A message appeared on his screen. It was from the Defiant. To all Imperial ships, the Empire has lied to you. See the truth for yourselves, then decide where you stand. Taeho closed his eyes. He had a decision to make. On the Defiant, Sunhai watched the final minutes count down. 5 minutes until the pulse cannon would fire. Commander, said Min urgently, we're getting strange readings from the Imperial fleet. Some of the ships are powering down their weapons. Sunhai looked at the tactical display. Several Imperial battlecruisers had indeed powered down their weapons. Their captains had seen the truth and were refusing to fight. It's working, she said softly. The truth is changing things. But the pulse cannon was still charging. 4 minutes now. It's time, said Sunhai. She opened a channel to her agents on the capital. Begin the operation. On the Imperial capital, Agent Kang entered a series of commands into his control panel. The power plant safety systems shut down one by one. Agent Park reached the central computer room. She disabled the guards with a quick, silent move, then started typing commands into the main console. All across the capital, other agents did their work. They were creating a massive power surge that would flood the system when all their actions combined. In the pulse cannon chamber, alarms began to sound. Chief Scientist Yu looked at his readings with confusion. "Admiral, something's wrong. Power levels are becoming unstable." Sungmin glared at him. "Fix it. We only need 3 more minutes." But Yu was shaking his head. "I can't. The surge is coming from multiple points. Someone is deliberately overloading the system." Sungmin's face twisted with anger. "The humans. It's the humans again." On the Defiant, Sunhai watched as the energy readings from the capital spiked higher and higher. "The surge is working," reported Jinwoo. "The cannon's power system is becoming unstable." 2 minutes remained on the countdown. Would it be enough time? Yunki watched the screen with a mix of hope and sadness. If the cannon overloads, the explosion could damage the capital. Sunhai looked at him sharply. "Will people be hurt?" "The cannon is in a remote facility, but the power surge might affect other systems." Sunhai's face showed conflict. She wanted to stop the cannon, but not at the cost of innocent lives. "Min, contact our agents. Tell them to direct the surge only to the cannon. Protect civilian areas." Min nodded and sent the message. 1 minute remained. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. "The cannon is reaching critical levels," reported Jinwoo. 30 seconds. "Power systems all over the capital are fluctuating," said Mindart. 15 seconds. "The cannon is—" A bright flash lit up the screen. The pulse cannon had overloaded. The facility around it was destroyed in a massive explosion. But the surge had been controlled, directed away from civilian areas. The threat was gone. The Defiant was safe. The human fleet was safe. And the truth was out, spreading across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Sunhai let out a long breath. "It's done." But even as she spoke, new messages began to appear on their screens. Imperial ships were contacting them. Planets were declaring independence from the Empire. Change was happening faster than anyone had expected. Sunhai looked at Hyunki. "I don't think this is over yet. I think it's just beginning." The ambassador nodded slowly. "A new age for the galaxy. Let's hope it's better than the last one." 1 week had passed since the pulse cannon was destroyed. The Imperial Palace had never looked so different. The tall white building with its golden towers now had no guards at its doors. The Imperial flags had been taken down. Regular people walked freely in and out, something that would have been impossible before. Inside the Grand Meeting Hall, a new kind of meeting was taking place. Representatives from all 57 species of the former Empire sat in a circle. There were no high seats or special places. Everyone sat at the same level. And for the first time in 500 years, humans were among them. Commander Sunhai Lee sat between Ambassador Hyun-ki and Captain Tae-ho. The 3 of them had become an unlikely team in the past week, working to keep the peace as the Empire fell apart. "The reports from the outer systems are encouraging," said Hyun-ki. 23 planets have formed local governments. There has been very little violence. Sunhai nodded. "And Earth has sent more ships to help. They're bringing food and medicine to planets that need help." Tae-ho looked at the humans with wonder. After seeing the truth in the released files, he had made his choice. He had turned his ship, the Eternal Glory, against the Admiral's forces. Many other captains had done the same. It had prevented a civil war. "I still don't understand," he said quietly to Sunhai. "Your people were locked away for 500 years. You had every reason to hate us, to destroy us, but instead you're helping rebuild." Sunhai smiled. "Hate is easy, Captain. Building something new is harder. But it's better." At the center of the hall, a tall woman named Jia stood up. She had been chosen to lead this first meeting of what was being called the Galactic Congress. "Friends," she said, her voice clear and strong, We have all seen the truth of what the Empire was. We know now that it was built on lies and fear, but that is the past. Today we look to the future. The room grew quiet as everyone listened. For 5,000 years, the Empire ruled through force, one species making decisions for all others. That time is over. In this new Congress, all species will have an equal voice. All will be heard. People nodded and smiled at each other, and today, we welcome humanity back to the galactic community. Gia looked at Sun-Hai with respect. They have shown us that even after centuries of wrongdoing, forgiveness is possible. Sun-Hai stood and bowed slightly to the gathering. Her face was calm, but inside she felt proud. This was what humans had worked for all these years. Not revenge, but a chance to join the galaxy as equals. In another part of the palace, Grand Admiral Sung-min sat in a small room with white walls. She was a prisoner now. Her fine uniform was gone, replaced by simple gray clothes. The door opened and Jin-Woo walked in. He carried a small device. "Admiral," he said with a short nod, "I'm here to ask you some questions." Sung-min looked at him with cold eyes. "I have nothing to say to a human." Jin-Woo sat down across from her. "You don't need to say anything. I just thought you might want to know what's happening outside." He placed the device on the table and pressed a button. It showed images from across the galaxy, planets celebrating their freedom, former Imperial ships and human vessels working together to deliver supplies, the new Galactic Congress in session. "Your empire is gone," said Jin-Woo, "but the galaxy is still here, and it's doing better than ever." Sung-min turned away from the images. "It won't last. Without the Empire to keep order, there will be chaos, war. Your human nature will show itself soon enough." Jin-Woo shook his head. "That's what your Empire never understood about us. Yes, humans can be violent and aggressive, but we can also build, heal, and work together. You only saw one side of us." He stood up to leave. "Your trial will begin next week. You'll be treated fairly. That's the difference between your way and ours." As Jin-Woo reached the door, Sung-min spoke again. "Why did you do it? Release all the files. You must have known it would destroy everything." Jin-Woo looked back at her. "Sometimes things need to be broken before they can be fixed properly." On the Defiant, Min was packing her things. The ship was being turned into a museum, a symbol of the day everything changed. The crew would be going home to Earth soon. She picked up an old photograph from her desk. It showed her great-grandfather in an old spacesuit. He had been part of the first attempts to break through the Orion barrier 300 years ago. "We did it," she whispered to the picture. "We broke free, just like you always said we would." A knock came at her door. It was Sun-Hai. "Ready to go?" asked the commander. Min nodded and put the photograph in her bag. "Do you think it will work? This new Congress?" Sun-Hai leaned against the doorway. "I don't know. Nothing like this has ever been tried before. 58 species trying to work together as equals. It won't be easy. But worth trying? Definitely. Worth trying." In the new Galactic Congress, the meeting was wrapping up. Plans had been made for free trade, for open borders, for shared technology. 500 years of separation between humans and the rest of the galaxy was ending. As people began to leave, Captain Tae-ho approached Sun-Hai. "What will you do now, Commander?" he asked. "Go back to Earth?" Sun-Hai shook her head. "Not yet. There's too much work to do here. I've been asked to help integrate human technology with the rest of the galaxy." Tae-ho smiled. "I've been asked to lead a joint fleet, ships from all species working together to keep the peace. I was hoping you might consider joining us." Sun-Hai raised an eyebrow. "You want me to serve on an Imperial ship?" "Not Imperial anymore," corrected Tae-ho. "The Eternal Glory has been renamed. It's now the New Dawn." Sun-Hai thought about it. Then she nodded. "I'd like that." Outside the palace, the sun was setting on the capital city. People of all species walked the streets freely. News screens showed images of the Orion barrier being dismantled. After 500 years, it was finally coming down. On a small balcony, Ambassador Hyun-ki stood watching the sunset. Sun-hai joined him. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. Hyun-ki smiled. "No. Just thinking about how quickly things can change. 1 week ago, the Empire seemed eternal. Now it's gone." "Not gone," said Sun-hai. "Just changed. The best parts will remain. The rest needed to go." Below them, in the main square, humans and aliens were meeting, talking, learning about each other. After centuries of separation, they were finding that they had more in common than they thought. "Your ship," said Hyun-ki. "The Defiant. Why did you name it that?" Sun-hai looked out at the new world being born before them. "Because that's what humanity is. Defiant. We don't accept limits, we don't stay inside barriers, we always find a way through or around or over." She smiled. "That's why the Empire was right to fear us, and that's why the galaxy is right to welcome us now. We can defy old ways of thinking, old hatreds, even our own worst instincts." As night fell on the first day of the new Galactic Congress, ships from Earth continued to arrive. They brought not weapons but teachers, doctors, artists, and scientists. Humanity was rejoining the galaxy not as conquerors but as partners. And somewhere in deep space, the stars shone on a small plaque on the now empty Defiant. It bore a simple message, written in the languages of all 58 species of the new galactic community. The greatest defiance is to build where others would destroy, to unite where others would divide, to hope where others would despair. It was a new age for the galaxy, and it had begun with a single human warship where it should not have been the end. Captain Tyke stood at the large window of Neutral Station Alpha, watching the stars. His dark uniform fit well on his strong frame. The blue patch on his shoulder showed Earth's symbol, a planet with a single moon. He took a deep breath. The air on the station felt too clean, too perfect. It made him miss the rich smells of Earth. "Captain, the meeting starts in 10 minutes, said Officer Lee, coming up beside him. Lee was young but smart, with quick eyes that missed nothing. "Thank you, Lee," Tyke said. "Are the other human representatives ready?" "Yes, sir. They're waiting in the hall outside the meeting room." Tyke nodded and looked back at the stars. 3 months ago, he had been a simple ship captain, moving cargo between Earth and Mars. Now he stood as one of the first humans to meet with the Galactic Council. The aliens had found Earth 6 months ago. They called it a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous planets they had ever seen. The aliens were shocked that humans had survived on such a harsh world. Most species in the galaxy came from calm, safe planets. Humans, with their strong bones and tough bodies, were strange to them. Some aliens even seemed afraid of humans. "It's time, sir," Lee said. Tyke turned from the window and walked toward the meeting hall. The station was huge, built to hold many different species. Some areas had special air or gravity for different aliens. Tyke saw a group of Meldarians float by, their thin bodies like jellyfish moving through water. "Remember," he told his team as they gathered outside the meeting room, "we are here to show that humans can be peaceful partners. The galaxy sees us as dangerous because of our world. We need to change that view." The doors opened, and they walked into a large round room. Tables formed a circle with different species sitting at each one. Some aliens looked almost human. Others were completely different. Some had many arms, some had no clear head, some glowed with inner light. A tall, blue alien stood up. "We welcome the human delegation to this gathering," it said, its voice coming through Tyke's translator. "I am Counselor Zan of the Galactic Unity. Please, take your seats." Tyke and his team sat at the empty table. He noticed many aliens watching them closely. Some leaned away when the humans passed. "Today we discussed trade routes in the Outer Arm and—" Counselor Zan stopped as the doors opened again. A group of large, powerful-looking aliens entered. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with thick gray skin that looked like armor. Their yellow eyes scanned the room. Sharp teeth showed when they spoke. "The Vorax delegation," Zan announced, but Tyke heard worry in the counselor's voice. "We did not expect your arrival today." The lead Vorax spoke, her voice deep and strong. "We heard humans would be here. We wanted to see these new Deathworlders ourselves." Tyke studied them with interest. He had heard of the Voraks, the only other species known to come from a Class 12 Deathworld. Their planet Narak was said to be even harsher than Earth. The council. Room erupted in nervous talk. Zan raised all four of his hands. Please calm yourselves. The Voraks will be seated at the far side of the room from the humans." Tyke frowned. "Is that necessary, Counselor? We have no quarrel with the Voraks." "It is for safety," Zan said quickly. "Two predator species from Deathworlds. We must be careful." The Voraks leader looked at Tyke, her yellow eyes meeting his. She did not look angry or hostile. She looked curious. Tyke felt the same. Here was another species that knew what it meant to evolve on a world that tried to kill you daily. The meeting began, but Tyke found it hard to focus. He kept looking at the Voraks delegation. Their leader caught his glance once and gave what might have been a small nod. Suddenly alarms blared through the station, red lights flashed. "Attention all beings," a voice said over the speakers. "Section 7 has suffered an environmental failure. All beings in Section 6, 7, and 8 must evacuate immediately. This is not a drill." The council room located in Section 6 broke into chaos. Aliens rushed for the exits. Tyke helped his team stay together as they moved toward the emergency doors. "This way," a station officer called, directing different species to different escape routes based on their needs. In the rush, Tyke got separated from his team. He found himself pushed down a narrow corridor with a few other beings. The lights flickered and then went out. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in dim red. "The door is stuck," someone said ahead. Tyke moved forward to help. As he reached the front of the group, he saw the Voraks leader there trying to open a sealed door. "Let me help," Tyke said. The Voraks looked at him. Up close, she was even more impressive. Her gray skin had patterns that might have been natural or might have been cultural markings. "I am Hana," she said simply. "Tyke," he replied. Together they pulled at the door. It moved slightly, then stopped. "The air pressure is wrong on the other side," Tyke said. "We need to find another way." Hana nodded. "There is a maintenance shaft 2 doors back. It should connect to Section 5. They led the small group of aliens back to the maintenance entrance. Tyke helped open the panel, and they crawled inside. The shaft was tight for humans, and even tighter for the Voraks. But they moved quickly, guiding the smaller aliens with them. "Your people adapt well to emergencies," Hana said as they crawled. "So do yours," Tyke replied. "On Earth, those who can't adapt don't survive long." "Narak is the same," Hana said. "Our planet has magnetic storms that can strip flesh from bone. We learn to sense them coming." "Earth has storms that can level cities," Tyke said, "and animals that can kill with a single bite or sting." They reached a junction in the shaft. The way forward was blocked by fallen debris. "We'll have to go up," Tyke said, pointing to a vertical shaft. He went first, showing the smaller aliens how to use the ladder rungs. Hana came last, making sure no one fell behind. As they climbed, the station shook. Tyke nearly lost his grip on Ocean. "Stabilizers failing in this section," an automated voice announced. "Gravity may fluctuate." "Just what we need," Tyke muttered. They reached another level, and Tyke helped open the hatch. As the last alien climbed through, another shake hit the station. The ladder beneath Hana broke loose from the wall. Tyke reacted instantly, grabbing her arm. Despite her size, the failing gravity made it possible for him to hold her. "Hana's free." Hand found a grip, and together they pulled her to safety. "Thank you," she said as they sat catching their breath. "You would have done the same," Tyke replied. Hana tilted her head. "The Council thinks we would try to kill each other. That Deathworld species must be enemies." "They don't understand," Tyke said. "On a world that wants you dead, you learn that cooperation keeps you alive. Competition only works when resources are plentiful." "Yes," Hana agreed. "The soft world species never learned that lesson. They found their way to a safe area in Section 5. Emergency teams were helping people there." Tyke saw his team and waved to them. It seems we must part, Hana said. For now, Tyke replied, but I think our peoples have much to learn from each other. Hana showed her teeth in what Tyke realized was a smile. I agree, human Tyke. Perhaps this accident was fortunate after all. As they went their separate ways, Tyke knew something important had started. Two species from worlds that should have killed them had met, and instead of fear or competition, they had found understanding. The Galactic Council had much to learn about Deathworlders,